Well, that's what we hope to do. I mean, we've got to build it to teach the people, that this is how it's done, because otherwise we don't know. I mean, I've worked with so many entrepreneurs who were big fish in a small pond, you know, didn't want to do what was necessary to kind of rethink the business in order to prepare it for sale because we're scared to death. That, so often our identity is so wrapped up in our business that if that business goes away, then what do we do? What do we do? We haven't even been able to think about those kinds of options historically. So now when that becomes an option, you can really think about your company differently. You can think about the fact that it doesn't have to be your kids that are trying to play corporate executives when they don't even want to be there. They want to be doing something else. You're going to all these things, that these machinations through which we go to try to make stuff work because we don't feel like we have options. And historically, we have not had options that were very attractive. So we have to build those options for ourselves. And that can really happen. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that can really happen.
No, I love this.
Yeah, you struck a nerve.
I assure you, John Rockefeller had a legacy and passed on family wealth with his public company.
Right. That's right. That's right. And
we
can do the same thing. We just have to teach people how it's done.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be Shell Oil.
Right.
Okay. But certainly on a scale, if you're going to, listen, if you shoot for the stars and you make it to the moon, you've gone significantly higher than if you're thinking I'm going to go fly a kite. So we're telling people that they should and can and that it's possible, believing in themselves and believing in their companies and believing in what they do, to shoot for the stars. You should go for it. And we want to be the bridge from those companies that are sitting there with their hopes and dreams intact to a capital market where an increasingly larger number of people can actually realize their dreams. They can become manifest and they become operable in a physical universe way so that, prosperity does come to our community. And I guess the parting comment, I was thinking about this as Dwain was talking, is it isn't just a public company. There are only 10 public companies that are MBEs, but 92% of the jobs in a company happen after it goes public. So if you've got 100 people working for you and you can go public, your company can grow to 1,000 employees. Now, with 1,000 employees and really good living wage, prosperous jobs, it isn't just the company itself that does well, but the car dealer and the realtor and the grocery store and the veterinarian in the community, all those people in an ecosystem are served well because one public company can thrive in a community. And I often say it this way: 92% of jobs are created in a company once it's able to reach public capital markets. We've got 10 MBEs out of 6,300 companies. You do the math. You don't need a degree from MIT to figure that one out. So this means so much more than just a couple of companies that might be successful going public, or even across the landscape, because it's across all entrepreneurial communities. The Dream Exchange is not only for Black people, it's for everybody. So as we start putting more prosperous small companies there, we're building the prosperity of the whole country, and especially what I consider to be the final chapter of the civil rights movement, which is bringing prosperity to the community. We need prosperity. We need to be able to prosper. And actually, how do you prosper and have the American dream when the rent's due? And there's no job to pay the rent, and no company to get a job. Like, this is like a nightmare. So we want to make it a dream, and we're at the infancy of this, just so you realize. It's not overnight, but we're certainly telling the truth, and we're also having the integrity to put a business in place that's a bridge over a lot of historical problems with integrity. It's not. There's no. There's no automatic success here. But so what? That automatic success isn't necessary. It's got to be quality of company and success, and then with the access that they have, all of those companies will change. They're just going to transform communities. We want Silicon Valley to be everywhere. Why is it only all? Why can't there be some version of that in all the communities of the country, rather than isolated to a single very wealthy part of California? No offense to them, I like them, but let's get everybody. Let's get the people of the country access.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And that balance things out, and it also allows us to move strategically from another mindset. Something that Dwain alluded to earlier that got me thinking is like when the rent's due and all these other things, I'm in survival mode. So I don't have the capacity and the bandwidth to think strategically and learn in the essence of the way you're saying. But once I do get from out of that survival mode, and I'm able to do that, and then I'm in a thriving mode, I can move differently. I can see differently. I can now take my time to do things.
To me, expansion is synonymous with life. If you're expanding, you're having more life. You're having more survival. Contracting and is like a downward spiral. So if you're always living in fear and laying people off and shrinking, and that leads towards kind of a fear of the future, not able to expand mentality. And when you can get into a market like this and stay in the race and expand and live and create more people having good lives, it just is a solution to a lot of problems that aren't directly in a stock exchange. It just presents so much prosperity and potential solution for the country to flourish as a nation, with all of us doing it together. That it's, you put a nickel in. Dwain and I love the Dream Exchange.
If I put a nickel in it every time, I'd be listening. But listen, I want to pivot us real quick because I think we could talk about all the different problems and the things that need to be changed around it. But I want to start to pivot us to like the strategies and success. What have been some of the landmark successes of Dream Exchange, and could you really share how those achievements are impacting the broader landscape of public capital access?
I'm going to steal this first part. The biggest success landmark we've had is when Dwain and I really became the control of this. Mm-hmm. I think that if you look at the timeline of building exchange infrastructure, when that was done, big landmark. Some of the key people we hired, our chief of operations was the former chief of operations for the New York Stock Exchange. Nice. Big landmark, big hire, right? And we've got some really quality executives that we've hired, big landmarks. Finishing our rules and meeting with the SEC. The legislation that we drafted actually passed both chambers of Congress in 2018. So we know that was bipartisan. It came out of committee 56-0 in 2018. I mean, Republicans and Democrats agree that this market that we're creating is needed, right? So big landmark. But I think the biggest landmark, truly the most significant part of what we're doing is the alignment that Dwain and I have in seeing this through. Look, we're not young guys, okay?
Stop it. You don't have enough gray on your head.
So my head, there was a lot of gray and it's gone. The beard is a giveaway, But I think the two of us really deciding, like, listen, this is for our children and our grandchildren and the generations to come. And we've lived our whole lives with a lot of experience. And when we come together with kind of a market technology and public company expertise that I'm bringing to the table, and the communication and the purposes and the what is more significant to any organization, which is building a culture of integrity around the purpose. With the combination of that, we really become unstoppable. And that to me was, sorry, Dwain, I'm stealing this question because, because there was a lot of movement along the line here, which was in the back of my mind 14, 16 years ago. Like, oh, I see what this could be like if I actually had the vision of Dwain and I sitting on these calls, 16 years ago. The major milestone was when we were prepared to really launch into this discussion, because all the other minor milestones have been completed. We weren't going out and saying, we're going to be the 8th stock exchange in the country 10 years ago, because someone would have said, yeah, you and what army? And now we're saying, hey, listen, in a few months, we'll be the 8th stock exchange in the country. And when they look out, they look at a sea of soldiers lined up. There's the army. We did this. Okay. And now the momentum from our partnership is going to provide this vehicle through which what Dwain has been saying on this call, because he's significantly lived this more than me since his childhood. Like, we're not here to hurt private markets. We're not here to take away from venture capitalists. We're not here to disrupt and to be a disruptor of some, I guess, Ivy League mechanics behind how you might do financing for a deal. What we are here to do is to say, look, there's a fair capital market passed in a law over 80 years ago, and the eligibility to participate in that market belongs to every single American. And we stand for that, because inside that is one and the same, the American dream. People want to come here and prosper. That's what they dream about. And
under that note, I would say you're kind of being a disruptor in the way that, those who really had access to participation in the past, you're now elevating it to allow the American dream to really trickle down to the folks, right? So that you're disrupting in that way. There is a little disruption.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, I guess what I would say is this. We're making true what the original intention of all the good things about America really are. It's supposed to be for all the people. Yeah. It's supposed to be where any child growing up gets to be eligible to do anything that they want, so long as they work hard and have integrity and follow the rules that are there. And the rules themselves can't be something that excludes them from the possibility of having a great life. Yeah. And what a wonderful podcast, because it's given us a chance to talk a little more philosophy than trading mechanics. A lot of those too, but
this piece is very important, because especially for our community, who's been historically left out, it allows for honest dialogue, for there to be some understanding, for there to be some healing, so that we can even move forward to have an honest conversation for participation. One thing that I love that you said earlier when you talked about, this isn't for me, this is even for like the next generation, And when you have that conversation, that means a big deal for somebody like me and somebody from my community, because sometimes when we're building things, I know when I built this podcast, it started like, I'm thinking like, all right, for a generation and the next generation, because some of the young folks that if they grab this right now, they can't be what they can't see. And the entrepreneurs of tomorrow and the future, they can't do what they don't know. And so if I can accumulate this information, and then years from now, even if it's not, doesn't actively hit them today, years from now, that somebody's going to come across that as like, oh man, let me pass on to somebody, and then we can recycle the benefits of that and having access to that knowledge in different ways and mediums that we may not have it in our own homes. So this becomes important. This becomes an important dialogue to have. So I appreciate this conversation in more many ways than you know.
If I can just do a little bit more on what Joe was saying, I don't want to be lost in this conversation. The significance of who we are as individuals and how it is we came together.
Okay.
With Joe, I never ever felt that I couldn't be myself. And we've been together for 20 years. And that's saying a lot, because what Joe hadn't say and can't say really, but I can say is he's brilliant. He's brilliant. The way he has put this thing together, history books will be written about this, I promise you, because he has taken things and he's documented everything he's done. So there's not a lot of guessing that's going on here. He has spent years doing research, writing papers, pulling this stuff together. This isn't something we woke up one night and said, oh boy, we're going to do a stock. No, it wasn't done that way. So when you recognize, and when people recognize his brilliance, but the fact that, I sit around his house talking to his mother, who's talking smack, I mean, just in his daughters and in his family. I mean, Joe got 6 kids. I mean, he's a family man.
I knew Joe had a household that talks smack. I knew he had to have some thick skin somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
You said I was brilliant, and then you said I had 6 kids, and it went right out. Okay, what's wrong with that, man?
but to be able to build, given where our country is, and given how important building a solid financial foundation for this country to move forward, given how important that is, we feel like we are really, really right in the crucible for how this country is going to get out of the mess that we're in and really build for the future. And that can only happen with 2 people coming from relatively different backgrounds, both modest beginnings. But, I am nowhere near the academician of Joe. I, wasn't into it like that ever. Okay, I was lucky. I made some good grades, but to be able to meld these 2 personalities and to align along those things that we care about that are really important, like making it better for people who can't make it better for themselves, that is extraordinary. That just doesn't happen, especially when you're talking about the top of the food chain. It doesn't get much higher than this. It really doesn't. So, there may be lots of these stories out there that I don't know about, but I ain't seen him, I ain't read, and I don't think he knows about him either. So what I want people to understand is, first of all, you can never give up.
Yeah.
Never give up. Because no matter what you go through in your life, you remain tethered to principles, goals that go beyond your own personal well-being, then you're going to meet some kindred spirits out there. And you're going to meet some people who have the wherewithal to fill in the gaps that you have, and that can make something really big and really important. I want people to know and believe that, because I am the last person that would have thought I would have ended up in this position. Because this was not a goal. This was never a goal of mine. It never was. But the goal was to have as much impact as I could and do as much good as I could. And Joe's come from the same place. So together, look where we are. I mean, this is about to be kind of a big deal. I mean, I tell my kids, they're like, yeah, right, whatever. It's going to be a big deal. And but fortunately, we're old enough at this point not to really trip on that part of it, but to really remain focused on how can we leverage that big deal part to make sure that we can bring as many people into this. Let me say this. We are the only stock exchange ever that has a base of investors who are individuals. For generations, people will be talking about how they got rich investing in the Dream Exchange.
Mm.
In our community, okay? That hasn't happened. I mean, you may have gotten lucky enough to get Apple, but when you consider how many people that was and what the impact has had on our community, okay, whatever. But this was definitely not the easy way to do this. We have been turning money away from institutional investors who really wanted to, come in. But in order to run the company the way we want to run the company and to prioritize the things that we think are important, we knew we would not be able to just go the traditional route. And so we chose the harder path. We chose that.
As anyone would say, anything that's worthwhile doing in life is never easy. And, as a girl dad, we as dads, we're never a big deal to our kids. So I don't know how we win that battle, but I understand. So, I know we're getting close to time here, and I want to end this out with some good key lessons and advice, through your journeys together. What's some key lessons that you have learned, and what advice would you give to our listeners who are inspired by what you're creating and may wish to pursue this as their venture or something similar to it? What do you have for us?
Joe, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, that's lesson one. Have a good partner. Maybe from my viewpoint, maybe that is kind of Dwain already said it. Never give up, never quit. Work with people that believe in you. I think the biggest thing that I admire about Dwain is he's always believed in me. Like if I had self-doubt or was troubled or have, sometimes I tease him, I'll tell him, listen, I'll call you later. I'll pay you later for the therapy session. We work together that way. And there are a lot of people who will tell you can't. There's a lot of people who are going to tell you there's too many barriers. There's a lot of people who are going to tell you, how are you going to do that? Don't believe them. Don't believe them. Work with people who believe in you, that you believe in, and motivate yourself off of the trusted relationships and go forward. Otherwise, you spend your whole day trying to persuade somebody who's probably against you. And it gets increasingly harder when you say, oh, never quit. And people go, oh, that's easy for you to say. Well, it's not so much easy. And I really admire that in my partner and in our company, because we have now a lot of people who align, and I believe in them, they believe in me. And sometimes all of a sudden it just takes believing. The 1980 Olympic hockey team. Do you believe in miracles? Well, this is a miracle. We're pulling off a miracle. And so my advice would be, never give up, never quit, like Dwain said, and believe in yourself and find the people who believe in you too. And that'll make a life as an entrepreneur or as somebody who wants to build a better life for themselves and the people they work with. It makes it a whole lot easier. Maybe you'll succeed, maybe you won't, but at least you'll have a wonderful life while you're doing it with people that you love and believe in.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
I would come under that with a couple of things. Even more than it meant to me, I think today's young people really are much more focused on the need to be seen and to be heard. And when we were growing up, that maybe you were lucky enough to get that, but that wasn't really a priority for most of us. It was just can I get in the room? Can I get a job? Can I get a steady paycheck? But I think that's a good movement. I think it's a good movement. But what I don't want young people to do is to think that this can be, can happen easily. Even if you're seen and heard and everything goes right, it's going to take some time. If it's important enough, if it's big enough, then you're going to have to settle in, try to do all you can to be yourself, align with partners who allow you to be yourself, and who are aligned with your larger goals. You can't be aligned about everything, just like in a marriage, but make sure that the big stuff that you're aligned on, and stay focused on the prize, and don't be afraid to support each other, whatever that means. It may not, it may mean I need to, Joe's got a thing and I need to go over and sweep his leaves. I mean, at some point you got to check your ego. You've got to really be able to keep yourself focused on the prize and then do what's necessary to do it. Chief cook, bottle washer, whatever you have to do to get from where you are to where you want to be. You can't let your ego get in the way. You can't let, discouragement, like what Joe said, other people, what they say, because people are going to be hating. Haters going to hate.
Yeah.
Okay?
They need something to hate on.
What you do, haters going to hate. But if you are, sticking to your principles, and your principles are focused on things bigger than your, finite world, then you can never imagine where your help will come from. But as a preacher kid, I can tell you, it's going to come. If you're on the right page and doing the right thing, it's going to come. It's going to come. It will come. It may not come when you want it. It's always right on time.
Look, that's the son of a preacher man right there. That's why the therapy session is so good, Joe. That's why it's so good.
Amen.
Joe, Dwain, your insights today, man, it's just have not only been enlightening but deeply inspiring. For those who are interested in learning more about Dream Exchange or getting involved, where can they find you?
DreamX, DREAMEX.com is our website, and everything's there. Ways to get in touch with us, you can email us, call us. All of our information, everything about the company is on our website, DREAMEX.com.
Thank you both. Thank you both for joining us today. To our listeners, remember, the haters is going to hate. Surround the people around you that support you, and keep on believing. Find you a good partner. The journey to change begins with that single step. Let's keep striving, keep pushing, and always unite, uplift, and ignite. Catch us on the next episode of Rise Urban Nation podcast, and we'll catch you on the next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Taryell.